Alright, so I watched Hotel Del Luna on Netflix. I passed by it before with slight interest, but not enough. But I ended up watching it because it was the only thing to watch that I had displayed a little bit of interest in. So it was only reasonable for me to watch it. There's nothing else, so might as well watch the one thing that gave me a little bit of interest. So I watched it, and it was good. It was good. I'll get to it, but it's kind of a long, crazy plot, and I'm gonna try to condense it, so the video's not overly long. But basically, this girl who, I'd seen in other K-pop shows, and I really like her. Apparently, she's like super famous in Korea, and they call her IU or whatever. But she's the nation's little sister. That's what they call their celebrities there, which is cute, cool, and a little bit interesting. But whatever. So like, we love you so much. Like you're our little sister. Like, we're that close. You represent us so much, and we relate to you so much that's why we call you that. So that's their thing and their culture, which is cute and cool. But okay, the show. All right. Throughout the whole thing, I'm gonna be frank. Like, I was excited to watch it a lot of times, and a lot of times I wanted to watch another episode. And lately, my schedule has been messed up, so maybe I did. It was kind of like that. But at the end, I was kind of like, whoa. Like, overall, it was okay. But so basically, this girl, she runs this hotel. It's for ghosts. She's not dead, but she's not living. But I guess she did some bad things in her past, and then she had heard about this place from someone she crossed paths with when she was really young, and then she did these bad things, and then she went and found the hotel and the deity who runs it, and I'm not sure why, but the lady tied her down to the moon tree, when she basically, yeah, stopped living and didn't die. So she just stayed the way she was, and her job was to run this hotel, and collect the ghosts, people who have died, and they bring them to the hotel, and they comfort them so that they can be relieved of anything that's holding them back in this life. So that was their job. And then when the person felt like they could leave, then they left, and they sent them to the afterlife. So she did that, whatever. But this guy comes in, she's looking for a human hotel manager because they're all ghosts. And, basically she needs somebody to be able to go down to the district office and register their business. Like, it's interesting because normal living people can't see it, can't anything. But, I mean, obviously the government knows about it a little bit because they're able to register it. But no questions ever asked. That's why it wasn't that good, because, I mean, there were just a lot of things that didn't really make sense, but I could expect this because it's not what I wanted to watch. But it was good. The guy comes in, and one of the deities puts a flower on his chest when he's sleeping, and it's one of her moonflowers from the tree she gets tied down to. And every time he sleeps, he gets, like, dreams of her in her past life, So basically the whole show is about him, he'll tell her about the dream, and it'll bring up an old memory, and then every time a memory comes up, the tree will start blooming, it'll get buds. And then the lady who tied her down there, she told her that, once the tree starts budding and blooming, and then the flowers fall, then your time is over and you have to go to the afterlife. Of course, she wasn't expecting this, when she hired this human manager, but that's what happened. He told her about a dream, and the next thing you know, the tree's budding, and she's like, oh shit, she's scared, but she's not worried yet, because it's only the beginning. That's kind of how it is. You're not really thinking, because it's not here yet, you're like, okay, it's gonna happen, but, I don't have to think about that now because, I still have so much time. But basically, it's him, like, working there. There's other employees there, and, they're just working together, and, she sees this guy from her past life, that she loved, like not romantically, you know, but he's reincarnated as someone else, so she gets to see him. She gets to see someone else that she didn't like, and you know, and he's with her so that she doesn't do anything bad and become an evil ghost and vanish. He's like, I'm gonna stay by your side because I don't want you to vanish, you know. I want you to make all the right decisions. And throughout the show, all the other ghosts, you know, who were there, you know, were holding on to grudges, and eventually, you know, they all were able to face their grudge and make the right choice. So then slowly, you know, they were able to leave also. And then they fall in love throughout the show, which was cute, you know. And the whole time you're not thinking about it because you don't have to think about it now, but you know, you're like, what's gonna happen, you know, because they love each other now, you know, especially towards the end. But when that time came, you know, like it was beautiful. And then there's little examples that happened that were put in place, you know, in in her life, you know, to make her make the right decision. And then at the end, you know, she's like, who are you? Because, you know, we must have met. And she was thinking it was the one guy who was holding her back, you know, who did her wrong, who it was the reason why she got tied to that tree. She was thinking it was him. She's like, are you him reincarnated? And I was hoping not, because I was like, you wouldn't want to be looking at that person, you know, but they look like somebody else, you know. But it turns out he wasn't. And then at the very end, okay, I kind of like the way they did this. It was revealed in their very last dream together. They slept together in a bed. They never slept together, but, you know, at that time, the dream was both revealed to them, like who he was in her life, you know. And it was like this little boy who saved her, like saw her, you know, her family had been killed and was walking through the forest with his dad, and he saved her, and he was very kind to her. And yeah, and then, you know, she was fine. She didn't stay with them, but she's like, oh, that's who you were in my life, you know. You were the guy, you know, who saved me in a way, the little boy, you know, that saved me. So knowing that was his part in the past life kind of made it easier. I mean, it was kind of easy at this point because I didn't really want to watch, but it made it easier, you know, for them to separate, you know, and her to go to the afterlife after everything was done and solved, because, you know, like, I don't know, it just made it easier. I don't know why. Like, that was his role, you know? So that's what happened. She went to the afterlife, and she's like, let's meet again in our next lives. And he was like, yeah, you know. And I think he at the end, at first it was gonna be like a sad parting. He's like, I don't want you to leave. But at the end, I think when they both understood their roles, it made it easier and less difficult on him, you know, because there was another time when she left to send someone that she had a grudge against to the afterlife, and he was very sad, you know. So you're like, how sad are you gonna be when she leaves for real? But he wasn't that sad, you know, because everything was kind of understood, and it was beautiful. And then the show ended, you know, and then they were like, this is the new hotel owner, you know, whatever. But and that was it. And I was like, that sucks, because that guy, you know, he literally just got hired just for that part, you know. Like, he didn't even have a role. His role was like 2 minutes long at the very end of the show, but it's good to have a part anyways. But that show was okay. I didn't rate it because I was like, I don't really like it, and I don't love it for sure, you know. I don't not like it, but I'm just not gonna rate it. But that's just what I watched. I'm watching another movie now. It's called The People We Meet on Vacation, so I'll probably talk about that next. So far, it's alright, you know, the first 40 minutes, whatever. I'm gonna talk about that next time. But that was Hotel Del Luna. And yeah, that girl, IU, is a very famous actor, and yeah, it was an alright show. I just wanted to talk about it, tap in on it a little bit, and yeah, do my thing. But whatever. I mean, it was just the explanation. Do whatever you want with it.